Ever walked into a Panera Bread and just felt something was off? The portions a little smaller, the tables a little dirtier, the magic just gone? You're not imagining it. This is the story of how one of America's most beloved fast casual chains sold its soul for a quick buck. And it all started with a $7.5 billion deal. Let's rewind to the beginning. Before it was a nationwide empire, it was the humble St. Louis Bread Company. In 1993, a visionary named Ron Shaich, who already ran a successful chain called Au Bon Pain, spotted a huge opportunity. While everyone else was focused on urban lunch crowds, he saw that the suburbs were hungry for something better than fast food. He bought St. Louis Bread Co. for $23 million with a clear mission: bring high-quality, fresh food to suburban America fast. And boy, did it work. Panera, as it was soon renamed, perfectly captured the 90s zeitgeist. This was the era of high-carb, low-fat, healthy eating, and Panera's menu of fresh soups, crisp salads, and of course, artisan bread was a home run. They weren't just selling food. They were selling an experience. A cozy, comfortable third place between home and work. Ron Shaich was a master innovator. Panera was one of the very first to offer free Wi-Fi. Way back in 2004, turning their cafes into community hubs for students and remote workers. They pioneered loyalty programs, self-service kiosks, and online ordering, years before their competitors even thought about it. This relentless focus on the customer experience paid off. Panera saw its sales grow year after year, even straight through major recessions. By 2006, they had over 1,000 stores and were pulling in $800 million in revenue. A decade later, in 2016, they doubled to over 2,000 locations with a staggering $2.8 billion in revenue. Panera was an unstoppable force, a textbook example of how to build a beloved brand. But then, in 2017, everything changed. A European conglomerate called Jab Holdings, known for buying up brands like Keurig and Krispy Kreme, came knocking with a massive offer: $7.5 billion to buy Panera and take it private. On the surface, it looked like a win. The deal was meant to fund Panera 2.0, a $150 million digital upgrade. But this deal came with a poison pill. Almost immediately, the founder, Ron Shaich, stepped down as CEO. The man whose decades-long vision had built the empire was out. In his place came a series of hired gun executives who answered not to customers, but to private equity owners. And private equity plays a very different game. They aren't interested in a 20-year vision. They're interested in a 3 to 5 year return on investment. Their goal wasn't to nurture Panera's soul. It was to squeeze every last drop of profit out of it as quickly as possible. The strategy was simple: cut costs and chase synergies. Panera was merged with other Jab-owned brands like Au Bon Pain and Caribou Coffee. The sharp bakery cafe focus that made Panera special got diluted in a bloated corporate structure. The new leadership's incentives were all about hitting quarterly numbers, not building a brand for the long haul. And customers started to notice. The first and most unforgivable sin? They came for the bread. Panera Bread, the company with bread literally in its name, stopped baking bread fresh in-house at many locations. Instead, they started shipping in par-baked dough to be finished in the oven. It was a cost-cutting move that struck at the very heart of the brand's identity. It was like a steakhouse serving frozen steaks. The soul of the company was being outsourced. Then came the shrinking portions. The famous "you pick two" suddenly felt like you picked 2/3. Bowls of soup had less soup, and sandwiches seemed a little emptier. While prices stayed the same or went up, the value plummeted. At the same time, a focus on cutting labor costs meant stores got dirtier. Cleanliness standards slipped. Customer satisfaction, measured by Net Promoter Score, or NPS, tanked. Panera hit a record low, dropping 12 points, one of the worst scores in the entire industry. Things got so bad that for the first time in its history, Panera's sales actually dropped by 5%. Lawsuits started popping up with damaging headlines about alleged chemicals in the food. The company that once owned about half its stores, giving founder Ron Shaich immense control over quality, had shifted to a franchise-heavy model. Now, these franchise owners were alienated, forced to implement unpopular changes while watching their customers walk away. And where did those customers go? They went to rivals who were doing what Panera used to do best. Chains like Cava, Sweetgreen, and Chipotle were stealing Panera's lunch money literally. They offered the fresh, healthy, customizable meals that Panera had abandoned. While Panera's customer satisfaction was in the negative, these competitors were racking up huge positive scores. Panera's leadership became a revolving door. After Shaich left, the company went through 3 different CEOs in just a few years, each trying to fix the mess left by the last. In 2024, they launched a new era menu, promising bigger portions and 10 items under $10. But for many longtime fans, it felt like too little, too late. The damage was done. The trust was broken. So what can we learn from the slow decline of this once great brand? 2 timeless lessons. First, incentives dictate outcomes. Ron Shaich had his life's work and personal fortune tied up in Panera. He had every incentive to think for the long term, to build something that would last for decades. But private equity firms have an incentive to cash out in a few years. They chase short-term synergies over long-term soul, and the result is often a hollowed-out brand. Second, you can never, ever betray your core identity. Panera's promise was right there in its name, bread. When they outsourced the baking, they broke that promise. They told customers that convenience and cost were more important than the quality and authenticity that made people fall in love with them in the first place. Tearing it down only takes a few years of greed. Thanks for watching. If you found this story interesting,